I'm about to play you a clip of Matt Painter discussing his backcourt, specifically discussing the most handsome member of his backcourt. Who am I talking about?
Mm. Oh, Omer Mayer.
Yeah, okay. Why did you hit me with an
Because I was a little bit scared in the moment.
Okay, well, this is Matt Painter discussing what he has liked from Omer Meyer and the possibilities of potentially playing him in various ways.
Well, just across the board, you look, he scored, he passed, he did a lot of things for us. But to give us that relief and not hold our breath while Braden's out, is key. But I like them together. I think, you put those two guys together and you got guys like Fletch and TK and you got the short roll, you got the lob threat, you got a moose like Oscar down there. Like that's a really, really good balance of guys right there. He really complements, our main dudes.
All right. So
You got
besides calling Oscar Clough a moose, you saw in a 30-second span Matt Painter go from, he gives Braden a breather. He makes sure we don't skip a beat when Braden's not on the floor. But I like them together. He really complements our main guys. You put him out there with Fletcher and TK, possibilities are endless, basically. I have thoughts on this. Real quick, I would like to shout out where I saw this clip from. It was courtesy of at Purdue B-Ball Guy on Twitter. And Purdue B-Ball Guy is in our Discord. They have the Double D podcast, which is a Purdue podcast that has been making some great content lately. They had Greg Campy on, Oakland head coach, after Purdue's win over Oakland. So shout out to those guys. I think Purdue fans would love their show and appreciate them putting together this clip. Lastly, housekeeping. We have Omer Mayer on our podcast coming out tomorrow. We interviewed Omer and Braden together yesterday. We're going to drop this Wednesday morning on the Running Point Pod with Braden Smith. But we did a 60-minute interview with Omer the entire time and discussed a lot of these things and got his insight. It's a really cool conversation. So make sure you tap into that Wednesday morning. But for now, Matt Painter going on record and saying, I like them together. Omer Mayer alongside Braden Smith. That feels like a noteworthy shift in terms of how they are viewing Omer Mayer and his role. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah. Also, I'd like to say this. Paint. Shit, me too. Let's do it. Let's do it. See, I'm not in control either. You control that, so you can do that. Also, justice for Oscar. I don't want that to go by the wayside. That's insane. He tuned into this little clip right here. It was probably just chilling, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Damn, coach called me a moose." That's insane. That's an insane stray for my guy. Not even an Australian animal at that. But yeah, no, I think that as the year goes on, if it continues on this path, which long season, a lot of things can change. If it continues on this path, though, I think Paint's going to have a hard time not playing those guys together more because of the play of CJ Cox and Jakari Harris currently. Now, that could change. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. But if it continues on this path, I think they're going to work closer and closer to those guys playing together with Fletcher as well. And that being, more the lineup that I think gets the bulk of the minutes.
Yeah. So as we sit here today, I think we saw three games where, and I will say this to Payne's credit, he's done this every game, which surprised me. Right? They have given Omer Meyer a small run with Braden in every single game. That's been a real game this season. That didn't feel like it was going to come at points during the exhibition. It felt like they were almost intentionally scripting around not doing that. Since the season has started, they've given it a real look. What I would say is this: there's pretty clear definition here, and this was obvious to me in our conversation with Omer that everyone will hear tomorrow. But Omer's as bought in as anyone on this Purdue roster in terms of what his role is. He's
Hmm.
not trying to step on toes. He signed up for this, and he will give PJ Thompson, give Paint credit. They have him completely bought in on, I'm the backup point guard. I am a role player on this team. Anything else is gravy. The issue I think they're all going to be confronted with is it's going to be better for this team to have more Obermeyer on the floor sooner rather than later. And by March, you're going to have a hard time keeping him off the floor because just point blank, what has he done in very limited opportunities? Like let's call it what it is. They want CJ Cox and Jakari Harris to be outplaying Omer Mayer at the two right now. I think that's
Mhm.
what Purdue's staff wishes would happen. It's not happening. CJ Cox is playing 23 minutes a game. He's playing 6 more minutes than Omer. He's shooting worse from the floor. He's shooting worse from three. He's scoring less. He's averaging 1/3 of the assists that Omer is. Like he just in all areas has been worse on the basketball court than Omer Mayer through 4 games, small sample size alert. Jakari Harris is way behind them both. Jakari's shooting 22% on the year right now. So, and by the way, Omer through 4 games is already playing more minutes than Jakari is. So
Right.
I think this is trending where it's trending. We saw Omer have a career game in game 4 here. And, we saw CJ and Jakari have moments in the non-con last year, too. I don't want to say they haven't done this, but, Omer played 20 minutes for the first time this season against Akron. He got a lot of run next to Braden. It does feel like the door is wide open suddenly for him to sprint through it and just play alongside these guys. And I think the important reason why it doesn't feel like much of a debate that Omer's the better offensive player. It feels like everyone has accepted that. The big question mark here is supposed to be defense. What have you seen from Omer defensively through 4 games? Because I think he's looked the part.
I think he's looked the part as well. And it's not even just like the defensive part too, because I know that that's a big thing with this team and this makeup. But I think he's boarding. I think he's passing well. I think his feel for the game. Also right now too, I think he's a player that's just what's the word? Is it exuberating? Exuberating more confidence, kind of in that spot. A sense of confidence, but also like a sense of like I'm still cool, calm, and collected in this spot as well. I thought we saw that in the Alabama game when he was given an opportunity, and I think in the Akron game as well. So, I mean, even in that small conversation we had with him, that'll be on the Running Point pod. Obviously, that releases tomorrow. You could tell he is wired differently, and his mindset is different. To your point, and I think that it would be beneficial, probably sooner rather than later that guy's working to the fold because even looking further into the future. Not saying that Jakari and CJ shouldn't contribute, but I think the best version of Purdue is with Omer Mayer being the guy next
Yeah.
to Braden Smith.
Yep, it makes them more potent because I think if you asked opposing coaches right now, like in game planning for Purdue, at least defensively, I would think most coaches will tell you when it's CJ or Jakari out there, we'll live with it. Like basically, we want to do everything we can to take the ball out of Braden and TKR and Fletcher's hands. Easier said than done. Obviously, those guys are starring right now. But like if I were designing a game plan, I would basically want as many shot attempts from CJ and Jakari as possible. I don't think you feel that way when Omer's the other guy. I really don't. If I'm an opposing coach, I would not be comfortable living with Omer Meyer taking wide open shots. I
Yeah.
would view him as a threat we have to game plan for the same way I would the other guys. So it really is going to come down to what he does defensively. And look, my eyes tell me he's been good defensively. I think he's been disruptive. I thought he had a couple plays. He had 2 steals in the Akron game where it was like he's really throwing himself in there and physically using his gifts. Now that's Akron. We got to see if that holds up against Big Ten opponents. But he has not been visibly worse than CJ or Jakari defensively through 4 games, which is a surprise because all we were told in the summer was like he's not going to be a defensive asset at all. They're going to have to game plan around it, and he's looked better than expected there, which I think speaks to his buy-in for real. He's really bought into whatever this team needs him to do in between these stars.
Yeah, and I think it's a great development for Purdue because kids are goods.
Yeah,
True.
he's really awesome.
You love him?
I love him.
Wow.
Yeah, I love him.
And there, once ago, I get pushed down once again.
You're jealous of Omer Meyer.
Yes, bullshit.